Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam Yad-avidya-vilasena Bhuta-bhautika-srishtayah Tam Naumi Paramatmanam Sachidananda-vigraham. Yes, I received a question, one question during the week about this. So I thought I'll handle that before I get into the text proper. The question is, if Brahman is Trigunatitaha, where will you put in Maya? Yeah. If Brahman is Trigunatitaha, how come Maya comes into the picture? Yes, Brahman is Trigunatitaha. At the same time, there is Maya. This happens because of two degrees of reality. Brahman is absolute reality. Maya is an apparent reality. So with standpoint of the apparent reality, Maya becomes a Shakti for Brahman. It does not have the same degree of reality of Brahman. It is like me and my reflection. Morning I am having a bath, combing my hair and all. I don't tell, hey, make breakfast for two, there is two people here. So at the functioning level, you will have the Maya creating this whole universe, etc., etc., based in Brahman. But does that prevent Brahman from being Trigunatitaha? No, Brahman is always Trigunatitaha. It's an apparent power. It's not a real thing. It does not have the same degree of reality as Brahman has. Therefore, the status of Brahman is not changed. Yeah. Just an apparent thing that comes and goes. Why? Because you need it to understand how Brahman can manifest the world. Brahman can manifest the world only because of Maya. Otherwise, how will it do it? Brahman cannot become the world. Why? Becoming involves finitude. The limitless cannot change. The limitless cannot change to become the world. Since the limitless cannot change to become the world, then what is it that is responsible for the world? It's an apparent thing called Maya, which creates an apparent world, not a real world. So to understand that Satyam and Mithya, Brahman happens to be Satyam, the world including Maya happens to be Mithya. That's why the question came up, where will you put Maya? From the standpoint of my freedom, I'll say in my mind. From the standpoint of the creation, I'll have to say it is in Brahman. So that's where the whole thing comes in. The problem comes because we take it as a real entity. That there is something called Maya. No, there is nothing called Maya. It's like that 18th elephant. Yeah. Yeah. So think it over. We will come back to it if there is any further this. Yeah.
Okay. So Swamiji, is Maya inferred based on the effects?
Maya is?
Because you inferred based on the Jagat, which is the effect?
Yeah, in a way you can say it is inferred, but the Shastra also mentions it. Indra Maya Bihi Bahu Rupameti. There are statements like that. Yeah. See, the problem comes because we are always shifting standpoints in Vedanta. The shifting standpoints one has to be alert to. Yeah, Sunita, you had a question.
Swamiji, Maya is also Karana Sharira, is it?
By?
Karana Sharira, Maya, can we say?
Yeah, you can say Karana Sharira is Maya at the individual level. Or at the cosmic level, it is Maya Shakti. Individual level, it is Karana Sharira. Because the karanam for my identification with the body, mind, etc. is avidya, maya.
So, Swamiji, sorry, just one more thing related. So when we mention Ishvara, and then we mention Brahmaji, who is the Srishti Laya.
See, when we say Brahmaji, it becomes Pauranic. So you're looking at Ishvara as only creator.
Okay.
When you're saying Ishvara, it is a name given to Brahman to include the creation. So from the standpoint of the creation, from the standpoint of Maya Shakti, Brahman gains a name called Ishvara. The same Ishvara gets the name creator Brahmaji, sustainer Mahavishnu, destroyer Lord Shiva. Same Ishvara is getting names from three facets. What is the reality? One Brahman alone. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. What is the appearance? All of them. What is the manifestation? All of them.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. That's the whole picture. Reality is only one. Jagdishan, I can't hear you. Are you saying something? Sorry, your mic is off.
No, sir. I was.
No, I'm talking of not Jagdish Gupta. I'm talking about Jagdish C. Jagdishan, yeah. You're saying something. I thought you were saying, but I can't hear you. In fact, no one can hear you. I think there's something wrong with your mic. Yeah. Unmute now and see. Jagdishan, just unmute. Okay. No, I still can't hear you. I still can't hear you. There's some issue with the mic. Yeah. So this is where the whole thing comes. And we also saw that other argument that Vyavahara Dashayam, all the pramanas work, etc. Right? We saw that argument also, isn't it? Because everything is mithya, how do you say abhaditam jnanam? That is the last argument we saw. He says, Vyavahara Dashayam, all this is valid. Yeah. Dehatma pratyuyadvat pramanatvena kalpitaha laukikam tadvedam pramana atmani nishchayat. All these are held as valid means of knowledge. Vyavahara Dashayam. Because see, this is where Vedanta always come into the picture, you know. It is like at any given time, there is absolute reality what you are. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Then, the world that all of us relate to. Vyavahara. Vyavaharika Satyam. And there is always a certain amount of subjectivity. The subjectivity will be your Pratibhasika Satyam. None of them can be avoided. At any given time, all this is there. At any given time, what you are there is absolute reality. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Known or not known, it is there. At any given time. Then, there is a transactional world. Then when you say, I like this, there is a Pratibhasika subjective world coming into the picture. When you say, I love this rose flower I love. There is Vyavahara rose that everyone can see, and my subjective relationship to it. I like it. Swamiji, everyone like a rose, no? Not necessarily. The rose reminds him of his girlfriend. He went with a whole bunch of roses to her house and she broke up with him that same day, that same moment. He can't stand roses after that. Subjectivity. At any given time, these three realities exist simultaneously. Simultaneously it is there. No? Can't avoid it. Therefore, he says, Vyavahara Dashaya, we will take all these pramanas, 6 pramanas are working. Pratibhasika Dashayam also, in your dream world, all these are working when you are dreaming. Paramartha Drishya, there is no pramana. Nothing. Only Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. Okay. Now he is going into what the pramana is. Okay. Okay, one point here, which is new Purvapakshas coming in. Okay. If you look at the academics, they will talk about the epistemic method and epistemology. Shat pramanas are epistemology. Epistemic method, they'll say, you are assuming this pramana to be true. What if we question that? I heard a professor saying something like that. That's why I'm mentioning it here. Because it's for the academicians, everything becomes hair splitting, without thinking through. How do you, if you question the pramanas, all right, 2 standpoints. Big discussion also. Is the pramana Svata Siddham or Parata Siddham? Does the pramana establish itself or is it established by something else? To make the question simpler, by an example, how do I know what I see is true? Does the truth or the falsity of what I see is to be established by something else?
Swata Siddham. Pramana is
Pramana is
Swata Siddham.
Svata Siddham. That is, it's independent by itself. Why? Let's look at the why part of it. Because if it is not independently established, how are you going to establish? Then you will have to establish by some other pramana. But that pramana also has to be established by some other pramana. Therefore, you will create anyonya ashraya, mutual dependence upon all the pramanas. That means, I can't say this is a book because I am questioning what I am seeing. This is a book. How do you know this is a book? Then you will have to say anumanam. But how do you say anumanam is true? You will have to depend on something else. So each of them not established. Anyonya ashraya. It creates a problem of mutual dependency. With one unproved thing you are trying to prove another, with that unproved thing you are trying. What is anyonya ashraya? This character is mentally a little bit disturbed. So he is taken to a doctor. And the doctor tells him if he gets married, he will be fine. But who is going to marry a mentally disturbed person? If he gets married, he will be fine. But to get married, he has to become okay. The same thing will happen if pramanas are not independent by themselves. Anyonya ashraya will create. Anavastha dosha, regress ad infinitum. One pramana proved by something else, proved by something else, proved by. Each has to be proved, no? That means You saw this as a child, as a baby, your mother showed it to you. Here, Baba, this is a book. And still clicking inside, clicking inside, clicking inside. The finality of the perception proves it is Swata Pramanam. The finality here. Okay. Complete total. Here it is. This is what it is. Ho gaya kam. And you mean to say pramanas will not make a mistake? Yes, pramanas can make a mistake. The mistake made by the eye has to be corrected by the eye itself, isn't it? You saw a snake where there is only a rope. And how is it to be corrected? By perception alone. You can't do it by inference.
Swamiji, can I ask?
Yeah, please ask. Yeah.
Yeah, but perceptions independently will not culminate into knowledge unless there is a mind, no? So can't we say that
So mind is always involved.
are dependent on the mind then?
So mind is always involved. So what's the problem? Mind is involved in everything you do. Tell me what is it not involved in? It's not only pramanas. In everything mind is involved. No? You're sentient because of the mind. You're alive because of the mind. So that's a given. It's a given. Yeah.
Swamiji, only perception is Swata Siddha, no?
Only?
Only perception is Swata Siddha, no?
Why? Supposing I make an inferential conclusion, and that inferential conclusion is wrong, what is to prove it as wrong? The logic only, na? So the inferential conclusion only. That's why all pramanas are Swata Siddham. Yeah, inference depends upon perceptual data. But what you gain from inference, perception cannot give you. I hear a sound, there is a car outside, and the car is gone. If I look outside, do you think I'll see the car? It's gone. What inference can give you, perception cannot give you. Inference is a step further. So each pramana has to be independent. If there is an error in logic, it has to be corrected logically. So it's always that way. Always goes that way. Swata Pramanyam. That's why let us leave all that epistemic method and epistemology, etc., to the academicians who have nothing better to do. We are pragmatic people, we are doing it for moksha, not to make it an intellectual exercise. Yeah. To write a paper and present it. It's a big difference between a mere intellectual exercise and a value-based study because of moksha. I am studying Vedanta because it's going to give me moksha. If moksha was gained through something else, I would not study Vedanta, I would study that. Okay, so after having this much, he says, Tani cha pramanani shat. There are 6 pramanas accepted in Vedanta. Everyone does not accept all the 6, but Vedanta accepts all the 6 pramana. What is that? Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Agama, Arthapatti, Anupalabdhi Vedat. 6 of them. I dealt with in all the camp introductions, etc. I have dealt with. And each one is going to be dealt in detail. Okay? So, Pratyaksham perception, Anumanam inference, Upamanam comparison, Agama the Shastra, the Veda, Arthapatti deductive logic, Anupalabdhi seeing things that don't exist here. Okay? Iti Vedat. Tatra Pratyaksha Pramayaya Karanam Pratyaksha Pramanam. That which will give you perceptual knowledge is called perception. The pramana is called perception. 5-fold, because you have 5 sense organs. Since you don't have a sixth one, it is 5. Only 5 means of perception. Okay. All right. What is pratyaksha prama? Atra chaitanyam eva. Pratyaksha prama, the knowledge that is gained from pratyaksha is chaitanyam matram. It's consciousness alone. ये क्या बात है? I thought consciousness was not an object of perception. Correct? The Upanishadic statement is there. Yat sakshad aparokshad brahma. Yat sakshad aparokshad brahma. That which is direct and immediate is Brahman. What is direct and immediate to you? What has to exist before you can use a pramana? What has to exist? I, exactly. I have to exist. And what is that I? Directly known or indirectly known? Directly known. Aparoksham. Sakshad aparoksham. Therefore, chaitanyam eva. All pratyaksha prama is based on chaitanyam. Now we have to reconcile it with the fact that Brahman is not seen by you. Is not an object of perception, correct? Now that he is building upon. Okay. Aparokshad ityasya aparoksham ityartaha. When the Upanishad says aparokshad, it means aparoksham iti. Okay, arsha prayoga it's called. Because there were 9 forms of grammar before. Okay, there were very few people who mastered all of them. Hanumanji was supposed to be Nava Vyakarna Pandita. Someone who had mastered all 9 forms of grammar. Then what Panini did was, he tried to integrate everything into one system called Paninian grammar. Now that we study is Paninian grammar. Even if you are studying through modern methods like your Bhandarkar, etc., Antoine Bhandarkar, etc., what we are studying is Paninian system, based on the Paninian system. So there are certain things like this, which he will call as Arsha use. Arsha means Rishi Proktam. It does not fit into our Paninian classical grammar, but it is Arsha Prayogam, Rishi's Prayogam. I had a Sanskrit professor who would say, you make your rules. You think great poets will follow that rule? You think the rishis is going to follow your rule? You can make your rules. If you do it, it is something wrong. If the rishi has used that was before Panini came in, it's called Arsham, you will treat it with respect. Which was made into a very silly Hindi song. O करे तो रास लीला, मैं करे तो कैरेक्टर ढीला. बराबर है. Krishna is Ishvara, can get away with anything. You and I are not. Okay. So it's okay. Yeah. Okay. The Arsha Prayoga. Now he makes a very interesting point as a Purvapaksha to explain this Chaitanyam part. Nananu Chaitanyam Anadi. Tat katham chakshurade tat karnatvena pramanatvam iti. Chaitanyam is supposed to be Anadi Anantam, beginningless, not conditioned by time and space. And anything you see has to be a finite entity. An object of perception is a finite entity. Then how can you say Chaitanyam is perceived? Uchyate, I'll answer. Chaitanyasya anaditve api tad abhivyanjaka antakarna vrittihi indira sannikarshadina jayate. Yes, we also say the same thing, Chaitanyam anadi. But tad abhivyanjaka antakarna vritti. But the antakarna vritti, the thought, okay, that appears to condition the Chaitanyam, Indriya Sannikarshat Jayate. What does he mean? I see a book. In my mind, what is there? A vritti of book vritti is there. So, pot vritti, phone vritti, laptop vritti. All these vrittis are conscious or not conscious? Obviously, is conscious vrittis. Okay. Iti vritti vishishtam chaitanyam adimat iti uchyate. Therefore, vritti visishtam chaitanyam. That vritti which manifests chaitanyam is adimatvam, has a beginning. Before I saw the book, I didn't have vritti of book. Now that I am seeing it, I have the vritti of book in my mind. Therefore, the vritti was born in my mind because of perception. Without my perception of the book would not be there, the thought would not be there. No, Swamiji, I didn't see it, I only heard it. Hearing is part of perception. Are you getting the idea? Therefore, the consciousness manifest in a vritti is born in your mind. Because the vritti is born in your mind. Vritti is born, the consciousness is manifest. That has got a beginning and end. Out of sight, out of mind. Book gone, you are no more thinking of book. Book brought in, book, vritti, gone. Therefore, the vritti is supposed to have a beginning and end. The vritti, mind you, not the consciousness. The vritti. And the vritti manifests consciousness. Because the sentient vritti, it is not an insentient vritti. Therefore, jnana avachedakatvat vrittau jnana upacharaha. Therefore, this vritti is what you call knowledge. Book perception you call knowledge of the book. What is the knowledge of the book? This particular vritti in which consciousness is manifest and the form of the book is also manifest. Because consciousness is manifest and consciousness is nothing but jnanam, chaitanyam, the vritti is also called jnanam. Now he is going the other way around. When you study in Upanishads, what we say? The implied meaning of the jnanam is chaitanyam. Now you have studied all that. So now we are going the other way around. Because in your vritti, jnana, consciousness manifests, the vritti is called jnanam. Ulta. Understand the difference? When you say Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman, we will take the word Jnanam. Then we say it is not knowledge of this or that, it is pure consciousness, etc. We will come to the conclusion. Correct? Nyapti Matram, etc. We will say pure consciousness. The word, implied meaning of the word knowledge is pure consciousness. But we never question why that is called Jnanam. Why knowledge is called Jnanam. So here he is saying, because Jnanam is consciousness and that consciousness manifests in a vritti, that vritti which gave you knowledge of the book is called knowledge, Jnanam. Because Jnanam, the consciousness, is manifest in a vritti, we will call the vritti also Jnanam. Are you getting this difference? If you are not getting, ask. It's a tricky topic. Clear?
Not clear, Swamiji.
All right. When I unfolded the word awareness to you, knowledge, how did I do it? I said awareness of this, awareness of that. Correct? Then from awareness of this, that, etc., I dropped the object. I came into pure consciousness. So the word jnanam in Sanskrit stands for awareness, consciousness. So I said, when you use the word jnanam, you mean knowledge of this or that, or conscious or awareness, you mean this or that, awareness of this or that. Then we came by a process of logic, etc., to the fact that consciousness is me. Therefore, I said, it is the direct meaning of the word jnanam may be knowledge, awareness, but the implied meaning of the word jnanam is me. Now by the time you come to Vedanta Paribhasha, you have studied all that. So now he is saying the other way around. Because jnanam, I, the consciousness, is manifest in this thought, that thought is also called jnanam. Ulta. Can you see? It's completely reversing the thing. Don't worry. When you study Vedanta, after some time you will wonder whether you are coming or going. But when you blow up that mind like that, you gain that knowledge. Okay.
Swamiji, you have to be a little bit more, but it's very confusing right now.
One second, who's this?
Vijay Lakshmi.
Yeah, Vijay Lakshmi, tell me.
It's not clearly going into my mind.
Why?
Same here, sir.
The first part has gone into your mind, right? That the implied meaning of knowledge is consciousness. The implied meaning of the word awareness is consciousness. Is there a doubt on that? Sure. Okay. So the implied meaning of the word jnanam is consciousness. Correct? Awareness I am replacing with jnanam, Sanskrit word. Now he says your consciousness all right. Correct? And this consciousness is manifest in, when I am saying this is a book, there is a thought in your mind. When I say this is a book, there is a thought or there is no thought? Obviously there is a thought. How will you recognize this is a book? Now, in that thought, consciousness is manifest or not manifest? Therefore, he says that thought is called jnanam, knowledge, because consciousness is manifest. Supposing consciousness is not manifest, what will you call that thought? You can't call it because there is no thought. Wherever there is a thought, consciousness will be manifest. Because jnanam is manifest in your thought, the thought is also called jnanam. Then we will clarify it by saying it is vrittik jnanam. Jnanam that is in the form of a thought. Vrittik jnanam. Just to make that division. Abhi samjha? Now it's clear?
Swamiji, vritti implies a thought where the phalavapti is there.
Yeah.
Have I got that right?
Even without phalavyapti, even in akhandakara vritti, it's called jnanam, no?
But then it's you.
Yeah.
That's how.
Yeah. So whenever there is a thought, consciousness is manifest. Therefore, it is considered vrittik jnanam.
So, Swamiji, everything is a vritti, no? So the whole thing is basically consciousness
Correct.
and jnana, right?
Correct. Therefore, because it's a vritti, see, you all have done the meditation with me, na? Thought is born in consciousness, sustained by consciousness, dies down into consciousness. What is that? If consciousness was not there, would you have a thought? Yeah, Satish bhai.
Yeah, you need to use the blackboard and so
Huh?
you need to use blackboard.
No, blackboard will they will start conceptualizing afterwards. I don't want them to conceptualize. That's why deliberately I am not using a blackboard. Even though in the class the blackboard is there, I will not use it because I don't want people to start conceptualizing. It's easy, that will become academic studies. I don't want that to happen. I want people, even if it's a struggle, for them to understand and for me to explain. Without conceptualization, you should understand this.
Yeah, I was just joking.
Okay. Now look at it, that vrittik jnanam is vritti is called jnanam only because jnanam is manifest. Simple.
Swamiji, when the vritti is not there, still I am the consciousness, no?
Of course, you the conscious is always there. Saksha, that's why he started by saying yat sakshad aparokshad. Can you see? He is always there, but you are the knower now. And in your mind, the thought is born. And when in your mind the thought is born, consciousness manifests. Therefore, in a secondary sense, we will use the word jnanam for the thought. So, what is he done here? Because you have already been exposed to the Upanishads, etc., he is flipping the whole thing around.
In a secondary
Listen. We started by saying the implied meaning of the word jnanam is consciousness. Correct? Okay. Now that you know your consciousness, and we are saying that a vritti is born in consciousness. That vritti is also called jnanam in the secondary sense, because primary sense of the word jnanam is consciousness. In a secondary sense, because consciousness is manifest in your thought.
In the thought or mind?
One second. You know what's happening to you all? Let me tell you what's happening. You are hearing something different and suddenly think, oh, I don't know, and you are all getting anxious. Relax. How do I say you should listen to Vedanta? Let the mind go along with the words. You are not letting that happen. That's why you are getting so anxious. Something new. I should know. You will know. After all, you are jnanam. Now, can you see what I am saying? After all, you are jnanam. This jnanam born in your mind is vrittik jnanam. Any doubt on this? Vrittik jnanam and jnanam? I am deliberately using vrittik jnanam, so you know the difference.
Yeah, difference, same thing what you said, secondary sense.
If you don't like to use the word secondary, don't use the word secondary. Say vrittik jnanam.
Yes, Swamiji, this thought borrowed the consciousness itself and become a consciousness again. Is that
It's
so?
born in the consciousness, sustained by the consciousness, resolved into the consciousness. Where else is the thought going to be? Now look at it. See, this is because you have been reading all these books, which is non-traditional.
We are not reading.
Listen. Sashi, you don't have to justify yourself all the time. Just listen to what I am saying. If it's applicable to you, use it. If it is not applicable to you, it's not applicable. Simple. Look at what's happening. Where is the thought? In the mind. All of you will say that. And what is the mind? Flow of thoughts is mind. So where the hell is the mind? If the flow of thoughts you are calling the mind, tell me where the hell is the mind? किधर है? Tell me, where is it? Without thoughts, is there a mind?
No.
So this collection of thoughts is what we are calling mind, no? And is not every thought a conscious thought? Meaning consciousness is not manifest in every thought? Is every thought not sentient?
Yes.
Now what is the problem?
So Swami,
Huh?
based on what
So?
based on what I am understanding, every manifested jnanam is the mind, basically, right?
Yeah, you can, a bundle, a collection of manifested jnanam is what we call mind.
Mind. Oh.
So that's why when you use terminology, no, mind, this, that, we are conceptualizing too much. There's something called mind. And that mind is associated with consciousness. Kidhar se? Leave your tattva bodha behind. Abhi Vedanta Paribhasha hai. Yeah. I mean, what is this thing called mind? What is it that you are talking of as mind? Your thoughts. That's all. And every thought, consciousness manifests. Therefore, we use the word vrittik jnanam to differentiate it from jnanam. Because jnanam is consciousness. Vrittik jnanam for what happens in your mind. Actually, I should say for what happens in your consciousness. But then you will be more confused. what apparently happens in your consciousness. Isn't that true? Because the thought is apparently happening in your consciousness. So what have you done? Today one lesson. There is nothing called mind. Only some thoughts floating around. In the consciousness that I am, there are some thoughts. Bas, idna hi. Apparent. Good. We come a long way actually. It's a big thing. It's a big step.
In this,
It's really a big step.
so,
Yeah? Yeah, Karthik.
sorry to interrupt, but in this there is still a certain duality, right? I'm still thinking.
Apparent. That's why I use the word apparent. Not real. Wave and ocean. Wave and ocean. That's why that example is the closest. Wave and the water. Where is a wave other than water?
Here,
Beg your pardon?
can I?
Yeah, ask.
Here there is no. Here there is no. There's no difference between vritti and vritti vyapti. It's basically.
One second. Don't confuse. Vritti vyapti, phala vyapti is from a different standpoint. Is meant to understand something else. Here we are just talking about a vritti. It doesn't matter what the vritti is. Yeah. So don't go here and there and try to grab things, Vritti vyapti, phala vyapti is used only to explain akhandakara vritti. Correct?
Yes.
Leave it there.
Okay.
Here when you say vritti, you mean thought. And keep it to that.
So Swamiji, what I was, sorry, my question might not have been clear. What I was trying to
Shoot.
convey
Yeah.
was, the vritti corresponds to an object.
Real or imagined? It can correspond to either one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is no real object anyway. Vyavaharikam or pratibhasikam? Transactionally valid or imagined? Correct. Vritti can correspond to either one. I am sitting here imagining something. Vritti. Jnanam is manifest. Or I am seeing the phone. Okay. Correspond to an object. There is an object for every thought, even imagined. This is an imagined object, na? Kalpanikam. Yeah.
Swamiji, I have one question.
Yeah.
Or suppose I say that we cannot separate an effect from the cause, and hence vritti which arises out of consciousness is only consciousness alone. Is that
Correct. Correct. That's why the vritti is considered mithya, no? That's why your mind is considered mithya. Mind is not satyam, it's mithya. Only consciousness is satyam. It's apparent, meant for functioning. Because what is mithya is meant for functioning. The moment you say functioning, understand is mithya. Like the flat earth that you are walking on, thank God. With all the digging and things like that, imagine you are walking on a round earth.
So this session has been literally mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Literally mind-blowing.
Exactly.
Blowing the mind.
Swamiji, just I have a little doubt, Swamiji.
Yeah.
Swamiji, that two sentence, the thought is manifested in the consciousness, his consciousness is manifested in the thought.
Is the wave in the water or water in the wave?
Wave in the water.
And water is not there in the wave?
It is one and the same.
Exactly.
Intrinsically.
It's one and the same. It has got an apparent form. One and the same, but in that apparent form is what we call a wave. Otherwise it will become this high. It's not this wave. It is the other wave. Apparent form. Apart from the form, there is no wave. What is there is only water. Apart from that thought, there is nothing, there is only consciousness. Bodham pratibodhitam manaha. Where has it come? Kena Upanishad, yes. Yeah, bodham pratibodhitam. In every thought, the consciousness is there. Where are you looking for consciousness? Every thought, consciousness. It's a conscious thought. Recognize I am the consciousness of every thought that comes up. That's why in the meditation I converted to say, the thought is born of consciousness, sustained by consciousness, dies down, resolved into consciousness. What is there is only one consciousness. The thought does not displace consciousness. The thought is sustained by the consciousness. This is you. If that is clear, we don't have to even study this. But can you see now how studying a text like this helps bring clarity into what is basic? Right at the beginning, we have not yet gone into Pratyaksha. You know, these are all books not written by mere scholars. These are books written by Sampradayavit. There's a big difference between a book written by a scholar and a book written by a Sampradayavit. Sampradayavit, directly he will go into the reality, whatever you are dealing with. Yeah. And a scholar may have much more knowledge than a Sampradayavit has, as far as the text and everything goes. But a Sampradayavit knows how to use the magic of the words to come to the truth, which a scholar cannot always do, unless the scholar is also a Sampradayavit, like here in this person's case. He is a scholar and a Sampradayavit both. Okay. Okay, then jnana avachedakatvad vrittau jnana upachara. That much we saw. Correct? Because the knowledge, consciousness is manifest in that vritti, we will call that vritti also jnanam, vritti jnanam. Taduktam vivarne. Where did you get all these ideas? He is quoting Vivarna now. What is Vivarna? Not the mall. The commentary on Brahma Sutras, Bhashya. Antakaranda vrittau jnanatva upachara. Okay. Yeah. He says jnanatva upachara. Jnanatva upachara is there in the vritti because consciousness is manifest there. Since the Vivarna has said it, he is also agreeing with that. Now the argument is coming from a different school. Okay? A question is being raised. Nanu niravayavasya antakarnasya parinamatmikaha vritti katham. But mind is without any avayava. Avayava meaning parts. Your mind doesn't have any parts. Therefore, because there is no parts, how can you say that it has modified into this, etc.? The katham, he says, na tavat antakarnam niravayavam. Antakarnam. Antakarnam is not niravayavam, is not partless. Sadi dravyatena savayatvat. Since the mind is also a created entity, it has a beginning. Any created entity will have parts. Therefore, your antakaranam, your inner instrument, it will also be classified into parts. Why? You have vritti jnanam, knowledge. You will have emotions. You will have memory. You have the sense of I, ahankara. All this is mental function. The name mind is given to this collective knowledge, emotions, memories and ahankara. Therefore he says savayatva, therefore it has got parts. So in knowledge there are different types of knowledge, therefore different parts automatically come into the picture. Okay. How do you say mind is the beginning? Who said that? Saditvacha tad mano asrajata ityadi shrutehe. He is quoting Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. He says tad mano asrajata, he projected the mind, that conscious being projected the mind, the first mind that came up, otherwise known as Hiranyagarbha. Vritti rupa jnanasya manodharmatvecha kama sankalpa vichikitsa shraddha ashraddha dihi adhrutihi dhrutihi adhrutihi hrihi dihi bihi ityetat sarvam maneva iti shruteher manam shrutehe pramanam. What is that? Vritti rupa jnanasya, vritti rupa jnanam, vritti jnanam. Okay? The thought that comes up in your mind. Mano dharmatve, it is all the dharma of the mind. What is it? He gives a few examples. Kamaha, desire. It's in your mind or not? Desire is not in the Atma, it's in the mind. Sankalpa, a decision. I will do this. Vichikitsa, doubt. Shall I do this? Shall I do that? Yeah. Vichikitsa. Okay. Yeah. Then Shraddha, oh, I trust, I believe. Ashraddha, I can't trust that, I can't believe that. Dhritihi, your firmness, your resolve. Okay. Dhritihi. Adhritihi, I can't resolve, I don't know what to do. Adhritihi. Dihi. Okay. Sorry, Hrihi first. Hrihi means the sense of shame that you have. Hrihi. Not exactly shame as such. Okay. Hrihi will become the natural human shame that is there, because of which you will not run naked on the street. That keeps you within certain norms of behavior. You can say social conditioning, whatever, but that hri is there. Okay? Lajja, what you will call, hri. Then dihi, intelligence, dihi. Bihi, fear. Okay. Iti etat sarvam manaha eva. All this is manodharma. So, various types of thoughts that make up the mind. Few examples he is giving. Is by no means complete. You can have a million thoughts, but he is given a few examples. What does he want to prove? Hey, your mind is not an indivisible whole, it is made up of all these. Iti shrutihi manam. Pramanam for them is from the shruti. Dihi shabdena vritti rupa jnanam abhidana. We are saying dihi, it means vritti jnanam. It's vritti jnanam. Ateva kamadehe api manodharmatvam. Therefore, kamadi also is manodharmatvam. Clear up to now? What he is saying is, hey, your mind is not a partless whole. It is made up of parts. Therefore, thoughts etc. are possible. And each thought is called jnanam because consciousness is manifest. So, the whole idea is what? Mind, the thought is called vritti jnanam because jnanam is consciousness is manifest there. That's the main point here. And the mind has got all parts etc. Where do you think this question is coming from? When you say mind has got parts, mind is partless etc. Where do you think that question is coming from?
Knowledge.
Huh? From Tarka. From Tarka. Why? In Tarka, Jnanam etc. are what? Vritti Jnanam etc. is considered Atma Dharma. No? Jnanam, Kama, Ichha etc. is Atma Dharma. So the Purvapaksha is from Tarka. Now, if the Purvapaksha is from Tarka, what should be the natural question that will follow? Let me make you think on those lines and jump ahead. What will be the natural question that will follow?
That mana is nitya.
Huh?
That mana is nitya. Like
No. Then how do you say I desire, I am happy, I am unhappy, etc.? Can you see?
Whenever there is something from Tarka, there is duality.
That is okay. We are not talking about duality or non-duality yet. We are talking about what is Atma Dharma, what is not. Whether it is Mano Dharma or Atma Dharma. Vedanta says it is Mano Dharma. Tarka is saying it is Atma Dharma. In Atma Dharma, because your experience proves it. Do you say mind is happy or you say I am happy? You say mind is sad or you say I am sad? Your Anubhava proves. Your Anubhava proves it is Atma Dharma. So what is the Vedantic answer to that?
We can objectify, no? We can objectify the emotions and they are momentary.
Therefore you are objectifying your Atma, that's okay. According to you, Atma cannot be objectified. For me, it's a category.
Adhyasa.
Because of Adhyasa. Therefore the whole, without Adhyasa, there is no Vedanta. You are mistaking the mind, etc., to be you. Because I don't know what I am, all that is mistaken as myself.
my mind is sad. I am not sad.
Huh?
My mind is sad.
Yeah.
I am not sad.
But that's not what you say. You say, I'm happy or I'm unhappy. I'm sad or I'm scared or I'm... All that is with respect to I. Why? Because your Mano Dharma is taken as yourself. That is the first Adhyasa. Mano Dharmatvam.
But Swamiji, they don't accept Adhyasa, right? So
Huh?
if they don't accept Adhyasa, no?
They accept Adhyasa as a mistake. You are mistaking one thing for another thing, that much. They don't accept Adhyasa like they don't accept it like a snake is projected. Remember Tarka? You have seen a snake before, mistaking two perceptions is Adhyasa in Tarka. For they know you are projecting a snake. Sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam is projected. Adhyasa Masha mat bhul jao. I will do a little summary of it in the evening talk today. I will do a little summary of that. Evening talk today. Because we are talking about Shankara. I was wondering what to talk about. I said, okay, I'll talk about this depending upon what others are saying. Since I am the last speaker, so you better stick to your times, okay? Otherwise, don't blame me for taking extra time. All those are speaking.
But the point is, but then if we explain ourselves on the basis of Adhyasa, they are not taking that point of view, no?
They are not?
They are not considering that point of view, no? They
Let
are
them not. See, it's not a question whether somebody else is considering or not. It is a question of what are you understanding? What is your understanding? My job is to teach, your job is to understand. My job to explain, your job to understand. Remember that. That's why what I always say, what you understand is more important than what I teach. Because finally it has to become your knowledge, no?
Swamiji, when you say Mano Dharma and Atma Dharma, you mean as an attribute, right?
Yeah. If you are taking Atma Dharma, you will be taken as an attribute. Yeah. We say you are taking it because of Adhyasa. He explains that with an example of red hot iron ball, etc. But I wanted, before I go into that example, I wanted to bring this general view first. Then we can go into the specific of what he is saying. Okay. Because of association.
One question here. Are you able to hear me?
Beg your pardon? Sanchit is saying something?
Yeah. Yes, Maharaj. So, yeah.
Yeah, Sanchit, what is it?
So, mind is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. Mind
Yeah,
is nothing but
yeah,
a bundle
yeah,
of thoughts.
yeah.
And each of these thoughts has consciousness manifest in it.
Correct.
So where is the question of abhyasa coming in? It's
Where-
consciousness. So where
Yeah,
is
but do you take the thought as consciousness or do you take it as a quality?
Okay, I take it as a quality.
Yeah, that is the thing.
Yes.
See, it is not that after wisdom language changes. Language doesn't change because language is meant for the functioning world. Only in teaching the whole thing changes. After that, you still use the same thing, no? Just because you gain wisdom, you don't have to start saying, my mind is disturbed today. I'm okay, but my mind is, don't have to say that. My body is hungry. Hey, we know your Atma is not hungry, okay? You don't have to say body is hungry. Some people do that. Why I am saying joking all this is because I have actually seen some people, idiotic people doing that thing. This lady had huge following. She used to say, this wants to go there. So I deliberately said, I acted as though I understood. I said, what wants to go where? What wants to go where? The table? Table cannot want. Because this wants to go, I said, table cannot want. No, this, she pointed at body. I say, body is inert, it can't want to go anywhere. Arey, सीधा बोलो ना, I want to go there. Yes. If you know, you won't have a problem saying it. If you don't know, you are shaky about your knowledge, you will use all these terms. Relax. Yeah. Don't change the language. Understanding. Understanding things should be clear. Okay. So, today evening, maybe depending upon the time available and etc., I will touch upon Adhyasa. I decided it right now, okay, that I will touch upon Adhyasa. Okay. I have not decided what to talk in the evening. I don't decide normally. I said I will listen to all people are saying and then I will decide what to say. So I think I will touch upon Adhyasa. I think. Unless something important to handle comes up in what others are saying. So then I will touch upon that and then see. So the next class, that Ayo, Dahati, etc. will become very clear. Okay. Yeah. We will go slow because Vedanta Paribhasha is it's not that simple to understand. Okay. Yeah. Link for the evening class is put up in that poster. In that poster that I sent about the program, there is a link for the program also. The Zoom link is given there. Okay, is there. You will find it there. Yeah. So in all the classes I put up a poster there. The Zoom link is there. Okay, so good place to stop. Om Tat Sat.